Hi, everybody. Welcome back to 101 on Arsenal. We are doing an Arsenal versus Brentford preview. How you doing, Simon? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. We do a Premier League show on Friday, so you're always welcome there, bro. I know you're busy with baby, but how's it going with you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you, Apollo. Great to be back. I am aware of the Friday show. I would like to try and get on before the end of the season, especially with Brentford riding high in the top half of the
Mm.
table. Plenty of reasons for me to come back and talk to everyone about Brentford.
How have you enjoyed the season so far? What's it been like for you? Obviously, last year you was elated because at the beginning of the season everybody was talking about fighting for relegation, and then it turned out that you were a very competent team.
Yeah, this season's been even better. It's been a slow, steady build on where we left off from last season. We had the 4-0 win over Man United towards the
Yeah,
start of the season, which was terrific. And then we were slow and steady. We've always been around the mid-table, but just before the World Cup break, we won 2-1 against Manchester City at the Etihad, and since then we haven't looked back at all, really. Our,
brilliant.
our
And
record against the top teams is tremendous. So we've beaten United and City. We beat Liverpool 3-1 at home, and we've drawn with Chelsea. So we've settled in very well in our second season in the Premier League.
and in your way, what would you be looking for the team to do this summer in terms of strengthening in areas?
The summer is really interesting because there's a lot of speculation that David Raya, who's our Spanish goalkeeper, will want to move on to one of the bigger clubs. So there's a question mark over what we do at goalkeeper, and he's been crucial to our success. And then there's speculation with regards to Ivan Toney up front. So obviously he's proved that he is a Premier League goal scorer and that he can do it at the top level. So he only has, I think, 1 year left on his contract. So he's in the
Wow.
situation where if you put the betting issues and possible ban to one side, does he commit himself to the club in the long term, or do we look to move him on in the summer? But beyond those two key players at either end of the pitch, everything else is pretty settled, and we might look to add one or two players, but there won't be wholesale changes.
So, could you name me three players who you've been really happy with this season and three players who you've been quite disappointed with?
In terms of players we're happy with, Matthias Jensen, who's one of our Danish midfielders,
Hmm.
he's really impressed this season. He's really kicked on. He divided opinions amongst Brentford fans in previous seasons because he would be great in some games and not so good in the others. But he seemed to learn a little bit from his compatriot Christian Eriksen when Eriksen was with us last season, and Jensen has been sensational this season. Ethan Pinnock, one of our centre halves, he's been great as well. He missed maybe 6 or 7 games through injury, but since he's come back into the side, he's been Mr. Consistent. And you have to remember that a few years ago, Ethan was playing for Dulwich Hamlet in
Yes,
non-league
yes.
football, so his
Yeah.
rise through the league has been tremendous. And alongside him, Ben Mee has gone down as perhaps one of our greatest ever signings because he joined on a free from Burnley. People sort of looked at him and thought he's a little bit older than your average Brentford
Yeah,
signing.
he's been solid for
He's
them as well.
he's quite slow, but his positioning, his football brain, his ability to read what's happening is second to none, and he's been outstanding for us and has popped up with a couple of goals at the other end of the
Yeah.
pitch as well.
So, in terms of Arsenal, obviously the situation that we're in and we find ourselves in is quite surprising because nobody had them to be anywhere near the top or challenging for the title this season. So, for us, it's just been a fantastic drive. Before the Everton game, we had played 10 games away from home and had 7 clean sheets in 10 games. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. And while that is our second loss in terms of with Everton going with Man United, it's 2 losses in 11 away games. Again, still the best record in the Premier League from away form. Our home form is quite good, obviously. We've had 8 games, 7 wins, 1 draw, which is the Newcastle game. And we're still unbeaten at home. So it's really going to be a test of tails between Brighton, who is a team on a 9 game unbeaten streak, and Arsenal, who haven't lost at all at the Emirates. The Emirates has been absolutely amazing. I've been a season ticket holder since 2007 when the stadium opened, and this has by far been the best season, not just because of the results, but the fan appreciation, the connection they have with the manager and the players, the whole place just looks to be invigorated. A far cry from when we used to call it the library. It's just one of the most liveliest places now, and it's the hottest ticket in town. You speak to any of your friends, Simon, to try and get a ticket to come and see Arsenal, you're looking at a minimum of at least 200 quid. It is just crazy out there at the moment to try and get a ticket just to see them play. But
Yeah.
for me, let's talk about Brentford. Now, Thomas Frank's side, they're taking full advantage. Obviously, the situation with Chelsea and Liverpool, their misfortunes have put them into mid-table fodder. And because of that, Brentford are right in the mix for European football. Now, their unbeaten run, as I said, it's impressive. It's 9 games. And it's really the defense is what's got me. 1 goal in the last 5 games conceded. And they have just, for me, the only kind of crack that I see with Brentford is they've won just twice away from home all season. Of course, one of them is at Man City. But what's your current thoughts on where they are at the moment in terms of the form guide?
Yeah, well, it's consistency is the key word. We're now consistent from game to game, and it doesn't matter whether we're playing one of the biggest teams in the league or one of the smallest teams. So, we comfortably dispatched Southampton 3-0 at home last Saturday. Previous home game, we beat Bournemouth 2-0 at home. So we're doing it against the smaller sides, and we're also doing it against the big sides. And as you said, it's founded on partly on the defence. And what we see is if you go through Brentford's strongest team, or you go through whoever starts for us, generally everyone is putting in a 7 out of 10 performance as a minimum. And quite often it's an 8 out of 10. So when everyone is playing at that level, that's what's driving the success that we're having. And with the defence, you've got, Rico Henry at left back, for example. He's a tremendous defender, but he also spends a lot of time getting forward, and he's getting better at putting in crosses into the box. And Brentford fans can't believe that Rico Henry's not being selected for the England squad when
Oh,
you look
yeah.
at the lack of left backs that England have.
Mm. I mean, the thing with Arsenal, obviously, you've heard the news that Jesus has returned to training now. He was doing some light running over the last week or so, but now has fully come back into training while he was getting treatment overseas. And for him, it's going to be a matter of just strengthening. I think he's going through 2 phases now, strengthening that area of the knee, and then obviously getting himself match fit. So he's still going to be out for about 2 to 3 weeks. But as he is now, he's joined the rest of the team. The running has been he's gone from light running to more now consistent work on that knee, and he could be back in 2 weeks, which I predicted, by the way, at Christmas. Everybody was talking about end of March. We're not going to see him till April. But my sources inside the ground told me, no, we know where they are with this thing. And not just that, but I looked at the NFL and some of the players who have had similar knee injuries and was just able to bounce back within 2 months rather than 4 months. The players now are just that much more fit, that much more dynamic. The treatment and how they deal with these issues is just far more better. So I kind of knew him being super fit in that way, that he'd probably be back well on schedule. But people don't like to talk about before schedule because then you don't want to build up hopes and get people's hopes sort of up high and disappoint them. So I think they have been under promising and over delivering as far as Jesus goes, but he's still not back yet, and he could have a setback. Look what's happened with Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe came back 2 weeks ago fit, and then he's had a setback now. So, he's going to be on the table now for another 2 to 3 weeks. So anything can happen, but I'm really happy in terms of where we are with Jesus. And as I said, Smith Rowe, another setback. I believe it's a thigh niggle with him now. So he's going to be a doubt for at least another 2 weeks. Reece Nelson's going to be back, which is great news. He's back in full training. I had a talk with him a couple of weeks ago when I was at the Emirates Stadium, and we're back, and he's ready to go. And we need that backup for Saka because we don't have anybody who's going to come in for relief for him. And I think for him, his contract is over in the summer, and I think he'll do a lot in terms of convincing Arteta to give him a new contract and let him sign a deal to play at that right wing. Because if you buy somebody, you're talking about 50 to 70 million just to sit behind Saka. That's ridiculous. If you have a look at Nelson and then put that money towards Declan Rice or another player, they would be in a much stronger position, in my opinion, because middle of the park is where they're most fragile. Now, as I said, I am expecting Trossard. He's been refreshing. The 3 games he's played in relief he hasn't a bad game in one of them. And I think for him now, there's the urge I think Arteta has got in order to put him before Martinelli just to see what he can give you over 90 minutes. So I think that that's going to be happening for Arsenal moving forward. As far as Brentford, injuries. Talk to me about Frank Oyeke and Shannon Baptiste. Do they have any chances of recovering from any of their thigh and groin problems?
So I was reading this week on Brentford's website. So Shandon Baptiste is back in training and available for selection, but our bench is so strong that he would be fortunate to make the bench this weekend.
Wow.
Frank Onyeka, so Frank the Tank, as we like to call him, he's still recovering from his injury. So I think he's a couple of games away, along with Pontus Jansson, who is our club captain and was obviously captain last season. He's not quite fit enough. But beyond that, we've got a full strength squad to choose from. And it was great last Saturday to see Aaron Hickey come back into the side, who's an
I was about
exciting
to mention him.
Scottish
Yeah.
fullback who we signed from Bologna in the summer. And he was terrific for the first couple of months of the season before picking up an injury. So he came back. So the big question mark for us is whether he will retain his starting place against Arsenal, or whether Mads Roslef, who's filled in very capably while he was out, will get the nod instead.
Yeah, I was about to mention Aaron Hickey because when Arsenal came in for him, we were told 35 million and we backed away, and then Brentford came in and paid half that amount.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as a top team, that's just what happens. When we came in for Lucas Paqueta, Leon said to us 78 million, and we were like, nope, we're only going to be offering you 40, and they said we're not taking 40 million. Then lo and behold, West Ham end up getting him for 36, which again is half the price. So unfortunately, this is the tag. People know Arsenal have got money to spend, and it's advantage for you guys because all of those guys that will sort of fall away from the top 4, you guys have got first dibs. You know, and Hickey's a fantastic player. I looked at him as definitely a player who would be able to rotate in the Arsenal system. But, then we went and bought Zinchenko, so there you go.
The thing that's caught our eyes with Hickey is that he's genuinely two-footed. And that causes great problems for the defenders when he's breaking forward, because they just don't know if he's going to take the ball on his left foot or his right foot, and which way he will attempt to go around them. So he's very exciting, and if he starts on Saturday, then that's definitely something for Arsenal fans to look out for.
So any concerns about Ivan Toney? I mean, he's racking up Premier League cautions. I believe he's got 8 yellow cards now, which means he's 1 booking away from a 2-match ban. And in terms of how that, so is he being extra cautious in terms of lunges and things like that? What's the word on him?
Nope, he just plays his usual style. He can be a little bit aggressive on the pitch, and that's just the way he plays. He's already served a 1-match ban this season for picking up 5 yellow cards earlier in the season, and I fully expect him to end up having to serve that 2-match ban at some point. But beyond that, he's been playing really well. He hasn't scored in the last 2 games, and he's been a little bit quiet. But before that, he was playing exceptionally well, and again, very consistently well. So we'll see. He'll either have another quiet one on Saturday, or he'll probably explode and get 2 goals. We just don't quite know what might happen.
Excellent. And I always like to see these guys go up against Saliba because Gabriel's been playing out of his skin this season, and he's had to, because he's had to match that level that Saliba set. And Saliba's starting to find his form back as well. So for Arsenal, guys, in terms of possible predicted lineups, it hasn't changed in ages. And I think this is the game where we actually might see Trossard, just because there's been a few players. Ben White hasn't been on top form lately. Neither has Xhaka, and Martinelli as well has been struggling. And I think, Xhaka obviously is important at the 8 role to way the team plays. Ben White has been solid. I mean, he's probably been our most rock solid player in terms of grades and marks out of 10. But the one that you would look at then is Martinelli, because there's so many good options to replace him with. in the last 3 games, he's had a 4 out of 10, a 4.5 out of 10, and a 5 out of 10. And at some point, you either got to rest him, and it would be good because look, you rest him for this game, and he'll bounce back against Man City, and that would be big for him. And also, you give Trossard the chance. There has to be a level of rotation. There's no point buying Trossard and then just sitting him on the bench every single game. I just don't see the point of that. So for me, I think that this is where your change is going to be and the team's going to be as is. Simon, talk us through what is the possible lineup of Brentford.
I think it'll be very similar to the one that started last week against Southampton. So you'll have David Raya in goal. You'll have Ethan Pinnock and Ben Mee as probably the two centre halves, with Rico Henry at left back, and then either, as I said, Hickey or Mads Roslif on the right. Christian Norgard sits in front of the defence. He's a terrific number 6. We missed him badly when Arsenal won comfortably 3-0 at the GTEC Stadium this season, so he's back. And then alongside him in midfield will be Matthias Jensen, who I mentioned earlier, probably Josh Da Silva, who
Yeah,
Arsenal fans will know.
I'll put his name down there.
Possibly. The other one that might come into midfield is Vitaly Janelt, who's our German kind of defensive midfielder, but he gets forward and gets the odd goal. He brings a bit more aggression and, again, security to the side when he plays. And then the front three recently has been Johan Wissa, Brian Mbeumo, who's brilliant, and Ivan Toney.
Excellent. So it looks like I pretty much got 95% of the team correct on the predicted list there. And so for me, it's going to be a battle of wills. We saw last week what happened against Everton. They put 5 men in the midfield and just tried to overpower the transitional play of Partey. Partey, one of the best in the league at transitional play, a defensive midfielder. What type of tactics do you think that they're going to do? Do you think they're going to do that? But it is at the Emirates, remember? So it's going to be a completely different atmosphere. But do you think taking Thomas Partey or Odegaard out of the team is going to be sort of your tactic? How do you think it's going to work?
Thomas Frank is famous for always going on the offensive. So Thomas is quite open. He doesn't like to sit back and defend. So he will set his team up to perhaps be a little bit cautious, yes, but very much believe that they can go and try and win the game. However, after the Southampton game last week, he was asked about this in his press conference, and he said, Brentford would have to put in our best performance of the season and probably our best performance since we returned to the Premier League.
Wow.
To win at the Emirates. But that is the mentality or the belief that the team have, that they will give it their all to try and win. But when you look at your home form this season in particular, it's going to be a very tough challenge for Brentford.
So predictions, I'm going to go with a 1-0 home Arsenal win. I think it's going to be extremely tough. But I will bank on the fact that Brentford have been a solid team away from home. But as I said, only 2 wins. So, and Arsenal don't draw a lot of games. The second best defense in the league behind Newcastle. So, Arsenal defensively are kind of underrated, if I'm honest. A lot of teams don't look at them. They look at them as an offensive team because of all the firepower we have up front. Nketiah, who didn't start before December, he's now got 9 goals. He's the team's leading scorer. Imagine that. You've come in a couple of months ago in December and you're already the team's leading goal scorer. That is nuts. And it's not just his goals. His link play and forward play has been exceptional. And very rarely will he give you a bad game just because he holds on the ball so well. He brings others into play and he cuts back and helps out the midfield as well. And I can't wait to see actually that dynamic. Also, I think the fans are going to be talking about the fact that he's got 13 goals in his last 13 starts at the Emirates Stadium. That is nuts. I would put that record against anybody in the Premier League. And in that respect, he does really well when he plays at home. So I think it's going to be a 1-0 score, and it's probably going to be Nketiah on the score sheet. What predictions are you going for in this game?
Well, obviously, I can't come on here and predict a Brentford loss, so I'm going to go for. I'm going to give you 2 predictions. I'm going to say 1-1 on Saturday, so that's my prediction. But also, just while I'm here, if I can just talk about the longer term objectives and predictions, Arsenal have never had a better chance to win the Premier League than they have this season for a long, long time.
20
Think
years.
things have just fallen into place for you. I mean, Liverpool have fallen off a cliff. Chelsea are nowhere. Tottenham are inconsistent and not good enough yet. Man United, they're on the way back, but they're some way behind. And Man City, there's something wrong at Man City. They're stuttering. So, the title is very much there for Arsenal to grasp. And I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Excellent. I appreciate that, bro. Much appreciated. But scoreline, what are you going with in terms of the scoreline?
1-1 on Saturday.
1-1.
Yeah.
Excellent. Brilliant. So that's it, guys, from the preview. And I want to thank you, Simon. Again, you're always welcome to come back, Simon. But I do appreciate when you can find the time to come on and do previews with me, because I love talking about Brentford. It is a London team. It is a rival team. And we don't get enough presence from you guys on our shows, especially on a Friday. We love talking about Brentford because they're doing so well. So it would be nice to see you a little bit more often on there. And I wish you guys best of luck towards the end of the season.
Thank you. And here's to a great game on Saturday.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks for joining us, guys. Peace out, man.